welcome you to my show today. This is Breaking My Silence, Minnesota View, and I am here with a wonderful lady. Say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, how you been?
Great, great.
Good. What happened, like when you were a young girl? Did you fall into like a horrible type of life that I was in when I was young, or what happened to you as a young child?
Well, when I was younger, I grew up in a neighborhood, which was the Selbydale area. And during that time in the 60s, there was a lot of prostitution going on over there. And I remember when I was little, probably about 6, 7 years old, just wandering around in the neighborhood by myself. And I remember sitting on this ledge by this apartment building, and I seen some women. They were just, to me, they looked like models. They were so beautiful, and I loved the way they dressed and how their hair was fixed, and I would just watch them for hours.
It's like an idol.
Yeah, well,
Idolized them, huh?
it's just something about them. They remind me of movie stars or actresses or something, because they dressed so glamorously, and yeah, exactly. But the one thing that I didn't get was, who are these white guys that they're bringing into this house, and why do they keep coming and going and coming and going? And one day I discovered what it was. And, when you're in that kind of a neighborhood setting, it's like you begin to have thoughts. And as young as I was, I had a thought. If there was a situation that ever happened in my life and I had to put a roof over my head or feed my children, I said, that's what I'm going to do. And, not really knowing that, I'm just going to say, the devil was setting up a plan for my life, for my future.
That's for sure.
Unknowing to me. And then there was a situation that happened when I was like 7 years old. And that's why it's very important for parents to know where their children are.
Watch your children.
Yes, because I was walking to the store, and there was this guy, that old white guy, sitting on a bench, big belly. And I remember him saying to me, would you want a quarter? And I'm like, yeah. And during that time, candy was a penny, you get a whole bag of penny candy for a quarter, and I already had some money. And so I was like, yeah. So you know what? He would say, well, if you pull up your shirt, I'll give you a quarter.
Oh,
So
oh my goodness.
I ran into him several times.
Oh,
and,
sure.
Got my quarter. And,
Goodness sakes, poor baby.
It's sad because at that young of an age,
you didn't know.
I was already being set up.
Yep.
So, it's really important that we be careful where our children are, know where they are, and train them, teach them. Yes, exactly. So.
Because you can't trust anybody nowadays.
And if it happened back in the 60s, how much more is it happening now?
Oh, it's happening every day. Hundreds of thousands of people every day.
Yes,
women,
right.
girls, kids. 12 years old is the average age.
Yeah, sex trafficking, that's big these days, and we need to pay close attention and participate and help in any way that we can.
Amen.
We have a voice, and we should use our voice to be that help in any other way that we can.
Guess why nobody's paying attention to it?
Why is no one paying attention?
They're not paying attention to it because they don't think it's going to affect them.
It affects everyone.
Yes, it does. It affects everybody in everybody's neighborhood. It affects the whole world.
There's scars for every woman that's ever been involved in prostitution in any kind of way, no matter how young or old.
That's right.
There's always scars. There's always that memory that is there. And, when we talk about taking action and being that voice, it's about love. We say we love and we say we want to help, but love is an action word. And there's some people that they get involved and they didn't mean to get involved. There's women out there that, like for myself, once I got involved, and a 32-year-old man had met me when I was a teenager. My parents were very strict, and they didn't let me go anywhere. I had a child when I was young. And so I guess they figured, oh, since you had a child, I'm going to let you go and hang out and, go to this graduation party. When I get there, it was full. And this was a family that was known for this kind of lifestyle, but I didn't know that. But there were grown men at a graduation party. There was pimps, there was prostitutes, there was all kinds of drug dealers and all kinds of things that took place there. And I was it was as if I was in a whole nother world
Oh,
that
yeah,
I'd
well,
never
yeah.
seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it all had began with me.
And your eyes were big open to that because you thought, well, maybe this is the way it's supposed to be.
Well,
You know, and you see everybody else is joining in to doing it, that you probably should too.
well, you know, I didn't really know what was going on until I was being really observant, you know. And then, you know, along with prostitution comes drug addiction, you know. And
Yes.
here's this little brown bottle with a spoon being passed around.
Yep.
Instead, it came to me, instead of inhaling, I exhaled.
Oh, you blew it everywhere.
Blew it out.
I
And
bet they
I
were
didn't-
pretty
yeah.
mad.
And so he comes over, it was his bottle. You know, I can visualize right now, I can remember that look. You know, I was his prey, like, you know, a lion getting ready to
Right,
pounce
pounce
on
on it,
his
little
prey.
prey.
And, you know, showed me what to do and so forth. And the story is history. But once I got out there, I did not like the way that you have to take and use certain parts of your body. I just had a real problem with that.
Me too, I did too.
And what I discovered one day by some of the veterans that were, you know, had been on the streets forever.
Old timers.
They had were talking about, oh, they had pickpocket this guy. And I'm like, oh, pickpocket? What do you do? How do you do that?
How do you do that? Yeah.
And so to me, I would rather had picked someone's pocket than to lay
Go to
down
bed
with
with 'em.
someone I just didn't feel that they had enough to pay me for that, because it was precious, it was valuable to me.
That's
As
right.
crazy as that may seem.
No.
But there are other women out there other than myself that
Yep.
feel the same way.
Yes, they do.
But they don't know how to get out. And
No.
I'm not saying that was the right way to get out and the
Well-
right thing to do. But you know, how many men have run into women or prostitutes? How many Johns have run into the prostitutes, and then, you know, they rob them, and then they go home and their whole paycheck is gone. You know,
Oh, yeah.
what are they going to tell their wife, or how
Oh,
are they
yeah,
going
they're
to?
going to tell that a prostitute took his money.
Exactly, you know. And so when you are involved in this lifestyle, you know, anything is game. Anything can happen.
Anything.
It's just the way that it is. So
That's
there's
right.
families that are suffering because of the choices that people are making.
I thought for sure that they would have curtailed this way back by now, except for what happened was it just went fast forward and even worse.
Well,
Now they've got the internet. Now they've got phones. Now they've got all these avenues to go down and exploit these girls, these women, also women.
right.
You know, everybody says, oh, well, you know, after 18, you make your choice. Well, I hate to tell you guys, at 18, what did you know? You know, what did we know at 18?
Nothing. Not much at all. We think
Really?
we do.
We think we know everything.
But we don't.
But we don't have a choice at 18, maybe 21, 22.
Yeah.
You know, then you may have had a choice. But if you're in love with some creep that says this is what you're going to do, and you love him so much, you think if you love him enough, he'll stop being the way he is. And that never changes. The pimp is always the pimp, and he's going to be abusive, and he's going to hurt you. I've been beaten many times. My skull's like been cracked open, legs broke. Wonderful. Just a wonderful life. Don't get in it, girls, whatever you do.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I was abused in that kind of way. And I grew up in a home where my dad was physically abusive to my mom, and I watched and I tried to
sorry.
protect her. And I always promised if a man ever put his hands on me, somebody was either going to be in jail, in prison, or dead. You know,
Right.
I mean, I just didn't want to get myself involved like that. But when I was, you know, young and in another state, and I'm sitting there, you know, helpless, no way to get home.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, and I remember him telling me, whatever, because we used to do after-hour parties as well in Boston, and I remember him saying, whatever you do, don't take that. It's not cocaine, it's heroin. Don't take that. And I guess it was white China, and they're passing this stuff around, and you know, and so I went ahead and did it anyway. And I kid you not, I blanked out, and we're in this room full of people.
Oh my God.
And literally, I seen myself floating in the sky, and I was an angel. I had wings, and it was just beautiful up there.
Wow,
and
it was.
Yeah, next thing you know, he nudged me. I came out, and I seen the bathroom. I was like, Oh my gosh, it wasn't heroin, it was cocaine. It wasn't heroin. I had to
But it
psych
was
myself.
heroin.
Yes, I had to psych myself, you know, make my mind be so powerful
That
over my
you-
flesh
yeah,
that
that
I
you-
didn't vomit, because that's what I
Yeah.
felt like doing.
Ugh.
And he knew what I had done, and that's when he had
Tried to get you
brought me
hooked.
in the bathroom. No, he told me don't do it. So he brought me in the
good.
bathroom, and oh my God, that's one place you never want to get beat up, is in a bathroom, because there's no place to go.
To go, no.
You know, so that
Yeah.
was a devastating place.
Did he
but-
beat you up?
Oh yeah, I went from the hit from the sink to the walls,
Yeah.
to the floor,
Yeah.
to the bathtub, and you know, it was a violent attack.
You know why those men are so violent
You-
about themselves and take it out on the one they supposedly care
that
about?
they do it because of what has happened to them in their youth as well. They could have grown up violently. Now the guy I was with, he was not a violent person. That was the first time he had ever done that, but it was because I did what he told me not to do.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like
Oh.
to show you a lesson.
Just
But
smack your ass around.
yeah, and also he was 32 years older than I was.
Oh, yeah.
And he had went to prison for being involved with a young teenage girl before, but that didn't stop him. So, you know, it's the lifestyle. You know, and when we get
Johnny.
involved with this, we
Yes.
see the lights, we see the fun, we travel all over the place,
Oh, it's
we see the
glitz
money.
and glamour. We
Yeah.
think it's great. We think it's wonderful.
Exactly, but you know, once you get in it, it becomes a
Horrible.
terrible place to be, you know, because it's sort of like being in prison, but yet free to
Yeah.
wander around.
Yeah.
Another thing that, you know, I thank God for, I had enough wisdom that he had given me to be able to, there's lots of girls that would run around, you know, because I traveled from state to state,
Yeah.
and they were always drinking. And I think a
Right.
lot of times with them drinking, it was to cover up what
Well,
they were doing.
It's medicated. Medicating them.
Exactly.
helps.
So that but they ended up dead because they lost their senses. And you know, did you hear about such and such?
Oh,
Did you hear about? And
no.
I'm like, no. But I knew that they were always in the bar and they were all drunk when they were, you know, working.
And high.
I couldn't do it. I wanted to be in my right mind at all times.
Yeah. God.
And I remember being in a state, and there was some man that was stabbing the women and slitting their throat. And I used to hang out with the dancers and, you know, just have fun. The guy I was with, he was a big time drug dealer, so I would take tablespoons full of his cocaine and I'd put it in a bag and I'd sell it to him, and then I'd bring
Sell it to him.
his money. I'd sell it to the girls, and then I'd bring his money back to him. Oh, this
that
is
was-
what I made today, because I just didn't
Oh,
like.
that's funny.
I just didn't like the
that's
lifestyle.
funny. That's
And as they call it, the wife-in-law would be the one that got blamed, because I was the youngest and the innocent one.
Innocent
So
one.
the youngest
But you
in
were
the
slick
stable.
as a ribbon.
But one day, you know, I was seen this guy, or he seen me, and you know, he, you know, came to me, and okay, fine, and he had said, you know, I want you to sit like this, so it'd be like I would be sitting on his lap, and my back would be towards him. And I'm like, why does he want me to do it like this? So anyway, I was like, okay, so I had to do what I had to do, but in my mind, I'm picking your pocket. And as I looked, I said, oh, what a great way to do it. I can bend down, I can act, I can say this
act like
and that,
this is
you know.
great.
And I'm like, okay, here's his
And
wallet.
pick his pocket.
You're right. I'm like, where's his wallet? Where's the money? So I went in his jacket,
Oh,
and
my
I
God.
felt that I felt this cold steel.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like,
gun.
oh my God, what is this? And I took it out.
He had a gun.
No, it was a
Excuse
knife.
me.
And I took it out and I put it in my shirt. And
It was a knife?
it was a knife.
Oh,
And
no.
all of a sudden, he went, I'm sure, into his pocket to get the knife. I believe I was with the killer, because
Oh, you probably were.
because he positioned you how he wanted you. Remind me, he would stab them in the heart
Oh, no.
and then slit
Oh,
the
my
throat.
Goodness sakes. Oh,
So
no.
when I'm sitting in that, and then he was going crazy.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I knew. As soon as he went mad, you know, I jumped up and I'm running out of there.
Oh.
I was terrified. And I'm thinking,
would've
I
been-
was just with the killer. I know I was just with the killer.
Well, yeah, you probably were.
And when you're in that type of lifestyle, you're so young, and you think, what can I do? How can I help? He needs to be told and told on, you know, but
Yeah.
then you travel, you leave so quickly.
Right, you're gone from one place to the next.
Right, and so these things they sit in my mind, and
Oh,
and